In terms of the Auckland plan, it's great to see that cycling has been identified in the Auckland plan, which identifies the growth and investment of cycling in the region as a critical component to increasing transport accessibility in the region. And it's great to see that in the transport priorities, it's identified in the top 8 of the priorities to invest in dedicated cycle and walking infrastructure. But not only is it in there as a top priority, when we look at the other 8 priorities, we see that they're also enablers, or they are going to deliver cycle and walking infrastructure as well. Things such as the additional harbour crossing, the Amity area, the transport improvements out east, they're going to deliver a few million of cycle and walking infrastructure as part of that project. But also the Auckland Transport plan, the Auckland plan sets out a number of transport targets for us to look at. Mode share for cycling and walking is only 1% at the moment. How are we going to increase that? The Auckland plan sets out the targets of increasing non-car modes into the CBD in the morning peak by 35% in addition to what we've got at the moment. Cycling and walking will have its part to play in that. Also, the Auckland plan identifies that in the next decade, we want to see 70% of the cycle network implemented. So in terms of looking at that, we've got to prioritise the funding. And it's great to see that accompanying the Auckland plan was dedicated investment in the region of around $11 million for the next year to be implemented in cycle and walking infrastructure. But in addition to that, we're looking at infrastructure delivered through other projects such as the Albany Highway, such as Amity that I said. So the actual bucket of money that we're going to receive for cycling and walking would allow us to actually look at a programme, a rolling programme of infrastructure, rather than looking at individual projects. And to build on what Alex was talking about, when we looked at this rolling programme, we saw that there was a need for us to actually portray the cycle network in different levels of service. How can we provide cycle highways which give a dedicated space for cyclists? Commuters can use it, children can use it, adults that haven't been cycling and want to learn to ride can use it and provide a ring around the city. This is the red lines that we've got shown here. So that's an off-road route which people can use. We're also providing links on the cycle connectors, looking at the arterial road network connecting town centres, providing that level of service for cyclists that are confident on the road and will actually want the most direct route. The third level of service that we've looked at for providing infrastructure is looking at cycle feeders. How can we use the parks and the local roads to provide for commuter trips, but also to link in with the cycle highway and the cycle connectors so that we can start encouraging more people to use it. And international research has shown that cyclists are willing, as many of you will know, are willing to take that extra little journey time if it's a much safer, pleasanter route. So with this money that we've got set aside for the coming year, I'm just going to go through the areas highlighted in orange are the areas where we're going to concentrate that investment over the next year. Some of the areas will be investigations, some of them will be actually delivery and building the infrastructure. So in the north here, we're concentrating on looking around the Albany Highway and the Upper Harbour Highway through here as well. Looking at safety improvements around Lake Puki and also looking at the business case for the pathway project on the Harbour Bridge. In terms of out west, we're looking at improvements to the Northwestern Cycleway in Donbunk Road, linking in that final link with Triangle Road, and also looking at the town centres around Henderson and linking in with the corridor studies that we're doing on Te Atatu and Lincoln Road. And around New Lynn, providing that additional transport investment for cycling around Portage Road to tie in with the public transport investment and the new roads that we've invested in around there. In the CBD, we're looking at implementing the Beach Road Cycleway connecting with NZTA's Grafton Gully extension, which I'll let Scott talk about later. We're also linking in with the first set of these feeder routes, and Richard Bartlett can talk about that later, in terms of linking in the local streets and the parks around the Mount Roskill area and adjacent to Dominion Road. We're also focusing on Waterview. Throughout the Waterview process, NZTA have identified a bucket of money to deliver the implementation. But we've actually got to get through to that implementation stage. We've got to work with the landowners to get the land and to go through the environmental resource consent issues, especially in that area close to Oakley Creek. And out east as well, working on that Amity project and the local street network around Point England. And finally, in the south, the key projects for this year are looking around connections to the PT infrastructure investment that we've already made around the stations and linking in with the existing cycle network around Great South Road. That's the new infrastructure that we're looking to implement and investigate over the coming year. But a big part of what we're doing is also about looking at safety and operational improvements. Alex touched on some of the safety risk issues that we have in Auckland. And when we look at the last 5 years, this is the first year where we're just balancing out on those reported accidents in terms of fatalities and serious crashes. The highlighted corridors show those corridors that have the highest crash statistics for cyclists. So we're investigating improvements on Tamaki Drive, also on Lake Pupuki, as I said, around there, and also working with Cycle Action around New North Road. We're also looking at immediate operational improvements and looking at network operating frameworks, which if we know there's an arterial or a corridor with a high cycle use, then we can look at what kind of priorities do we need to implement on that corridor for different types of day. Maybe it's different signal timings or putting in signal crossings. That's looking at the infrastructure that we can provide. But a key part of it is how we're actually going to get people using it. What kind of travel behaviour change programs do we need to implement to actually get people using the infrastructure? The great thing about this picture, and it's a great thing about cycling, is that most people are smiling or laughing and having fun. And that's part of the programme that we've got through our workplace travel plan, when we look at cycle package to encourage people to come to work by bike, providing maintenance and safety and training for them. Through our schools programme, in the last 2 months we've already put 1,000 students, Year 6 students, through our cycle training programme. So that's really good, and that's something that we want to encourage and work with other cycling groups to actually continue. Something that we're improving and implementing more of over the coming year is our monitoring programme. The last year has been a key success for us in being able to demonstrate the increases in percentages that we've had of people cycling, not only in the peak period, but also the recreational cyclists. By implementing continuous monitoring counts, we're able to show the picture throughout the whole day and throughout the whole season, which is a much better process than our previous 1 day a year counts. So finally, I'd like to say that we can't do this on our own. We've worked with businesses like City Hop to provide cycle racks so people can cycle to the car to rent the car. We need to work closer with community groups around delivering of cycle infrastructure and information. We need to work more with the likes of Bike NZ and the other sports groups about increasing the cycle training and the follow-ons to students so that they get a real passion and involvement in cycling. And in delivering the infrastructure, we need to work closer with the likes of NZTA, the local boards and the councils in terms of making sure that we deliver the best infrastructure to get the highest number of users.